Hello guys, Josh from 2000 here, and today we are going to be doing the first ever complete stories part of comic book Carnage. And today, given the fact Red Hood has just come out in Injustice 2, I'm going to be doing the first part of Red Hood: The Lost Days, which was the first ever Red Hood solo book, and it's going to be split into two parts. The first part's going to be issues 1 to 3, and the second part is going to be issues 4 to 6, which is the conclusion. I hope you guys enjoy. And also, if you have any feedback, please feel free to relay it to me. This is my first time doing something like this, and I hope you guys enjoy. And have a nice day, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're listening. Do you have any idea what you've done? Do you? The words of Ra's al Ghul broke the air. This man is many things to many different people. Some say he's even immortal. Then the words of fear broke. I did what needed to be done. You've defied me. You're a traitor to your own blood. If you were anyone else, I'd be dead. Death? Ra's al Ghul replied. Death would be a blessing. Death would be a welcome gift. I'd do more than take your life. You have no inkling of what horror you have unleashed, do you? You, Talia al Ghul, have set free a curse upon this world. But this, however, isn't where the story begins. In a matter of fact, the story started a whole year before this. I fear partners in the East will not honour their agreement. See that it is dealt with economically, would you please, Talia? Ra's al Ghul asks his daughter, with an air of confidence in his voice. Talia quickly replies, but if throwing money at the problem wouldn't solve it, what then? Ra's simply replies, not caring much for the incidents. Pit them at war with one another. We can't afford to waste time with these bottom feeders. Then Ra's al Ghul continues to other matters. And I want the uranium shipment found. It's at least an hour late. If it can't be found within 3 hours, we need to move to Plan B. Is that understood? Understood, Talia resolves quickly, as if receiving orders from a general, and not her own father. However, Ra's orders did not cease there. He then continued with, I want the entire cables in Kurdistan removed. Talia merely answered, within the week. Ra's then continues, surprisingly, referring that the detective's partner had been killed, unsurprisingly by the Joker, he said. So he was about to ask Talia to be extra vigilant, until he noticed that she was no longer walking beside her. Then he turns back and asks, Talia, is he alright? Talia questions. Ra's replies with, the boy? He's dead, crushed in an explosion of a warehouse. But Talia interrupts and says, Batman. Ra's replies, humouring his daughter, he is unharmed, but you're asking about his emotional state. That I would obviously have no knowledge of. Ra's, however, still attempted to empathise with the Dark Knight, his old enemy, and says, I would guess that he'd be grieving, but it's more likely that he'd lean on his sociopathic state. Talia just replied with, "He won't." "I see," Ra's al Ghul said, interrupting the woman. Ra's then continued, "I'm not unaware of your feelings for him, but I won't let it blind you. Men such as he don't let death faze them. The effects of battle are natural to him. He is a warrior. Death is his maiden." Talia then continued to protest, stating that Bruce doesn't kill, and that he raised Jason and that she fears he would never recover from the incident. Ra's, now becoming flatly unamused with the continued line of inquiry, begins to walk away, stating that this discord is not time well spent, and that she may monitor the talk in Gotham if she likes, but he tells her to mind her work. Then he continues even more, stating that she is not to reach out to him, not on a matter like this. "Is that understood?" he asks. "Understood." Ra's al Ghul then proceeded to walk away without another word, his face half shrouded in the darkness of the hallway. Talia later that night found herself looking at a computer of pictures of Batman and the Boy Wonder, now deceased. And all she could do was think to herself, "Tell me what they're thinking." Months later, Talia walks off an airplane in Gotham City, greeted by a man in a grey suit, claiming that he seems angrier. Talia questions this. "Angrier?" she says. The man in the grey suit says that Batman seems to be hurting more of them. "I don't believe it means anything else except the fact he's stepping up his game." Talia, now getting into the car that had pulled up to beat her, says, "That's because you're very stupid. Keep me informed." Then, without another word, she disappears into the car. Later on that day, Talia finds herself at the top of a building in Gotham City, talking to a man. "It would help if I knew what I was looking for." Talia said, "I just want accounts on what he's doing, his behavior. And I want it specific, and I want it regular." In that evening, she bumps into the man again. He says, "It's very far down the food chain. Started with a homeless alky. Used to be a wise guy. Swears to God and the devil it's him." "Excuse me?" Talia barks, as if insulted. "The boy's in custody," the man states. "Gone up through the channels, Talia, and from what I can see, it's looking pretty interesting." Not long after this, Talia and Ra's now find themselves looking down at Jason Todd through the glass in the observation deck, as three members of the League of Shadows surround him, waiting for instruction. Talia states to her father that he has skill. Ra's continues to look at the boy, who's dead to the world, clearly, just standing there hunched over, not even bothered by the three highly trained killers surrounding him. Then he asks, "Show me." As the word leaves Ra's lips, one of the men swings, punching Jason Todd across the jaw. But before he has a chance to withdraw the attack back to strike again, Jason grabs his wrist swiftly. And as if a machine awoken from an eternity of no longer being used, he strikes suddenly, quickly, too fast for the other three to comprehend, taking them all by surprise with a quick kick to the man's jaw. Then, quickly, without thinking, striking the second opponent across the jaw. Then, when only two men were left opposing him, he jumped, doing the splits, kicking them both in the same instant, sending them both clattering to the floor unconscious. Then another opponent rushes him, but this was no problem. The man was brought down in a flurry of punches and kicks. Ra's, not even fazed by the sheer brutality he had just witnessed towards his own men, says, "Interesting. What do we know?" Talia replies by saying the boy is half dead and covered in burns to the flesh, with evidence of severe trauma, probably from the explosion that killed him. And then she continues to state that he was found wandering around in a suit and tie, covered in soil, and injuries to his hands that would suggest that he dug himself out of a coffin buried deep underground. Talia stated it seems he was listed as a John Doe while he was in a vegetative state, and that he was sent to an institution until he escaped about 5 months ago. And apparently, according to eyewitness accounts, since then he'd been living on the streets. And she continues, he's not a clone. He matches blood samples we were able to obtain. And Race just states DNA confirms it. He is Jason Todd. As the doctors led him down the driveway and away from the house, Race continued to stare and watch the boy from the balcony that he was stood on. And then he turns to his daughter. "I want to know how he cheated death. Sift through everything. Every inch of dirt he's walked over. Do that for me. Eliminate or silence anybody who knows of the boy's existence. And Talia, the detective will not learn of this." "Of course not," she replies to her father. Then we cut to one of the Joker's men, who is being interrogated by 3 of Talia and Raish's men. I swear to God, I don't know." "You worked for the Joker. You were there. I want details." I told you. He gave the Robin a beat down with a goddamn crowbar. He wasn't dead when we left him, but we blew the building. Start from the beginning. The whole thing. Then we find ourselves talking to a member of the police department in the GCPD. "Look, that kid was horribly beaten, burned, buried, for God's sake. Of course we were at that case. What? Don't you honestly think we didn't try to find out who the hell this kid was?" Then, a member of staff at the mental institute he was at. He was in a completely vegetative state. No, we didn't have any restraints on him. We didn't even have him in a secure part of the building. We didn't feel the need to do so. Yeah, of course we saw it on the security cameras, him just walking out. A man walks over to Talia in the dark street. 2 of the caretakers at the cemetery finally fessed up. The grave had been disturbed. We unearthed the coffin. It's empty and it looks like it's been burrowed out of by hand. It definitely didn't look staged. So he was dead then, and buried. Well, it would look that way, but we're still no closer to knowing what changed that. Jason was fighting again, doing one of their drills. As the doctor and Talia continued the watch from the red observation deck, he began talking. His physical condition isn't the issue. He's reached a level of a professional athlete. It's his mental capacity. He isn't improving. Look at him. How can you say that? The doctor ignores her question and walks over to the intercom. Stop. This drill's over. You look at him. He's not responding to any human contact, except when he's attacked. Then some sort of muscle memory kicks in. He eats, he covers himself when he's cold, but he doesn't seem to have any sense of the world around him. It's an autistic effect brought on by the brain damage. But by now I'd have hoped that his brain would have begun to utilize other undamaged cells, and he'd become more cognitive. He's not getting better. You're wrong, Talia states. The doctor stands there in disbelief before replying. You're in denial. Then, without warning, Talia slams him into the wall, and she puts his face up close to hers and says, "And you will watch your tongue if you wish to keep it!" She then bursts in through the doors in the training room and walks up to Jason, slapping him hard across the face. The boy, however, doesn't react. He just stands there, bewildered. Then she turns. "He never fights back when it's me! Explain that! Never when it's me!" Jason sits there on the hillside, paying no attention. Then Talia breaks the air. "He misses you, honestly. I can tell. Since he's lost you, he's become unforgiving. He's changed. Most people probably don't see that quality in him, though. But you know as well, don't you?" "I know, too," she says, hanging her head. She continues, putting her hand on his shoulder. "I think you and Dick Grayson, before you gave him light, gave him hope. He feels responsible for your loss. It's his failure. He misses you." "Jason?" she says, casting her eyes over to see the child's eyes squinting as a slow tear begins to run down them. "Father, he has grown stronger, and he is still a master combatant. He is stronger because he is eaten, and his battle skills are simply like a muscle that tenses when stabbed. He is, and will forever be, an unthinking, emotionless shell. He has never spoken, never healed," Rach continues. "This ends now." "Father!" "It has been well over a year, and you have nothing, no clue, no inkling of how this boy came to be in this state. We are continuing to search. I have operatives in nearly every—" "And," Raish interrupted, "nobody can tell me why the greatest investigative mind I have ever encountered in my centuries walking this earth has not the slightest notion that his adopted son is no longer dead. I sought answers from you, daughter, and all you have greeted me with is obsession. He's getting better, and in time we'll learn the truth, if not from research from Jason himself." "The mute, brain-damaged weapon of meat and bone will tell you nothing. Not today, not a decade from now. Do you think I'm stupid, Talia? Do you think I do not realize the true reason of why you are doing this? He won't love you. Even if by miracle you were able to restore this boy to what he once was, and return him to the detective unscathed, he would not love you for it. The best he would do is be grateful. That emotion that you seek does not run through him. The Batman would merely seek to know why you kept his disciple from him so long. This has been a drain on resources and has kept you from more valuable work. I am sending him away. He will be cared for and kept, protected and sheltered, out of respect for his mentor and present carer. He is leaving in the morning. Now if you will forgive me, daughter, I am weak, and that time has come again. He will leave tonight. Dearest Jason, if you're reading this, that means we've succeeded. Centuries ago my father discovered these pools, these fountains of youth, and for their ability to rejuvenate they were dubbed the Lazarus Pits. Since taking possession of them, he and he alone has bathed in their waters. He is arguably immortal, and because of this he took great interest in you. I had other reasons. Despite my search for the answers, you remain a mystery. You were dead, Jason, murdered, buried and mourned. But you returned to this world, a miracle, and then you wandered into my view. Fate is being commanded in your life in a way I can barely fathom. I judge what I have done as not so much intervening on fate's behalf, but as stepping out of its way. You are meant for something more, Jason. Only time will tell what that is. But you should know more than any other reason. I have done this for love, and I hope that will guide you into what you become. As she states this, she casts the young boy down into the pit, and only time will tell what comes of this. Anyway guys, that concludes the prologue in the first chapter of Red Hood The Lost Days. The next chapter is called Chapter 2, The Baptism, and I know I said I'd do chapters 1, 2 and 3 in this video, but it's taken such a long time, and the video is already about an hour, about 20 minutes long, so I'm going to call it a wrap here. Next part in this series will be The Lost Days, and hopefully I will be able to get chapters 2 and 3 done, then, or maybe go beyond that and maybe get chapters 4 done. I'm not entirely sure. I'll see how many chapters I can manage to get, but from here on out it does switch to be more Jason's point of view, and it does become more of a Red Hood story. So I hope you guys can stick with this. I mean, I know these first 2 chapters aren't exactly the most interesting, but it's all build up and exposition mostly. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please leave me some feedback in the comments. Next video in Comic Book Carnage will probably be my review of Injustice 2, like I said I was going to do, then my thoughts and some other stuff. Then I'll come back around and do another part of this. If you want this sooner, let me know in the description. Give me likes, comments, subscribes, and then if this thing blows up, I'll carry on. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. And just finally, I'd like to apologise for how long this has actually taken. It's took a lot longer than I expected. I'm sorry about that.